and welcome to iNews. I'm Meg Fairhurst. The UK's longest and deepened recession is finally over, according to new official figures. The economy is going up. Despite the wave of optimism, people are still sceptical about the end of the recession. Myriam Belazou has more.
The latest figures showed that the economy has started growing again. According to new official figures, the UK's longest recession finally come to an end, yet people don't feel like it is over.
I think it's long, the recession is still not over. It might be for the government, but not for the people who work in. They've still got debts, they've still got the gas, everything, bills to be paid. So I think what they're saying, they might be out of the recession, but us normal people that work in are not.
Indeed, the number of jobless people in the UK is now at its highest level since 1995, with 2.4 million people out of work.
I think people are going to take quite a while to recover.
Are finding some advantage in it.
Bournemouth was quite lucky in that last year was kind of the year of the staycation, where despite the recession, or because of the recession, a lot of people chose to holiday closer to home, and being kind of one of the UK's premier destinations, Bournemouth received actually more visitors last year than it had on previous years.
Now we'll see with the time how the recovery will go. This is Myriam Belazou for MAMG News.
Over 20% of all children in Bournemouth were living in poverty in 2007, according to figures published by Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. The gap between rich and poor is growing, with the richest 10% of the population 100 times wealthier than the poorest 10%, says a report released today. Earlier, I spoke to Sarah Butler from the charity End Child Poverty, which was set up in 2002. I asked her what local government can do to help end child poverty.
Obviously, local government has an extremely key part to play in helping and encouraging the end of child poverty. Obviously, they work with local people and sort of trying to think of sort of immediate and transparent ways to encourage it, and also sort of in transporting the big national aims to end child poverty on a local level and making it really visible to the people, sort of the changes that can be made. But I think charities have perhaps the key role in sort of raising awareness of this type of issue, as opposed to local government.
Earlier, Bournemouth Council released the following statement. Every child in Bournemouth should have the same access and opportunities and the chance to a happy, healthy and successful life. Tackling child poverty is not something the Council can do alone, but with the support of our partners, we are working hard to make sure that local families get all the support that they need. Mulch, weed and leaf litter. You wouldn't think it would be much of a problem, but it's causing a bit of a stink in Bournemouth. Tim Empey found out more.
This Thursday, Bournemouth Council will decide on whether or not to charge people to pick up their garden waste. Last year it cost $435,000 to pick up residents' garden waste. Seems as though people in Bournemouth are dead against the idea.
Well, I think we pay enough rates anyway.
Yeah, so you think they shouldn't charge us for it?
No, I think it should come under the waste collection and say we pay enough poll tax anyway.
Okay.
No, I think it's very unfair because they want us all to recycle, and especially in this area you've got a lot of elderly people who can't manage to put it in the back of their car and take it to the local tip. So no, I don't agree with it at all.
I think it would be a good thing to start to charge for it. I think there's much more important things that ought to be free. Last night this was part of the discussion at the Environment Scrutiny Panel, and part of that discussion we were talking about how we have to charge for removal for people to deal with their problems if they have rats. And I think, for instance, dealing with rats is a much more important thing to provide as a free service than garden waste, because garden waste at the end of the day, if it's in your garden, nothing bad is going to happen to it.
This is Tim Empey for iNews.
The inquest into the death of a man who died as a result of a suspected drug overdose at Poole Hospital is due to go ahead today. A post-mortem examination revealed that 76-year-old John William Godling from Poole died of acute tubular narcosis and renal failure due to carcinogenic shock. The inquest is at Stafford Road in Bournemouth. And now it's time for the sport. And I'm joined here by Simon. Hi, Simon.
Hi, Meg. Thanks very much.
No worries.
It was a busy night for local football teams last night, and most of them ended up with 1-1 draws. In the Premiership, Portsmouth were denied a much-needed win thanks to a goal from West Ham defender Matthew Upson in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Pompey pulled back in the 76th minute with a goal from striker Danny Webber in what was a scrappy match with no dominant side. Both teams are in need of a winning streak to help the prospects of their Premier League survival. Portsmouth have returned just 18 goals in their last 21 games and continue to struggle with problems off the pitch as well. Meanwhile, there was a ray of good news for Pompey last night as their transfer embargo has been lifted, although the club will be allowed to bring in free transfers or loan signings. In the Championship, Reading suffered a heavy defeat with Sheffield. They lost 3-0 with goals from Jonathan Fortune, Richard Cresswell and finally Chris Morgan. Reading caretaker manager Brian McDermott was disappointed with the game and said they need to defend better in future. League One Southampton drew with Brentford at Griffin Park. Saints scored in the first 5 minutes, but the Bees got an equaliser in the second half. Saints boss Alan Pardew said he was disappointed with conceding a goal late on, a problem that has plagued the Saints in recent matches. Meanwhile, the full details of the Southampton-Portsmouth FA Cup tie at St Mary's were released last night. Although currently there's conflicting reports about the time of kick-off. The FA announced it as 12:45, but Southampton are saying it's been brought forward 15 minutes. Police in the city are already making plans for security at what is expected to be a sellout. In other League One games, Brighton also had an away draw at Stockport. Andrew Croft scored in stoppage time to deny Stockport their first league win since October, making it 1-1 at full time. Those are all the local sports stories, Meg. Back to you.
Thank you, Simon. Okay, and finally, for a little bit of uplift, those of you who are shopaholics, it's good news for you. The January sales are in full swing and are attracting a lot of customers. Xeng has more. Okay, it looks like we're having a little bit of problem with the sound footage there. I will try and get that story to you another time. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching iNews. I'm Meg Fairhurst, and this is Simon Horswell.